Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Jimmy and this is Patriots Club. So I've been seeing a lot of woodworking projects out there that have been doing a lot of jewelry displays for watches, rings, necklaces, all sorts of stuff like that. So in today's video, we're going to go ahead and make a watch display for an actual smartwatch. Now you can build on this and put extra things on. It's all entirely up to you. I'm going to show you one way to build it, and you guys can go ahead and build and expand on that. And if you guys have any ideas, go ahead and throw it down in the comment section below. Let's go ahead and get to this build now. All right, so I went ahead and pre-marked some of these. I did already make one of these, but I wanted to come through and mark everything off again to show you. So what I'm going to do is mark 2 inches from the very top. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and measure down 6 inches. And from that 6 inches, I'm going to measure one more. So this entire stand is going to be an overall length of 7 inches. Now, honestly, it doesn't matter how you flip this. I just flipped it right there. But what I am also going to do is what is going to be theoretically my side. I am going to measure up 1 inch. So I've got my 6-inch mark here and my 2-inch mark right here. I am going to mark 1 inch from here and 1 inch from there. From there, I'm going to go ahead and take a square, anything straight. We're going to mark it down. We're going to come here. We're going to mark this down as well. Now, at some point, you are going to want to come through and mark a straight line from your 1 inch line from one side to the other so that you have a 1 inch straight line like that as well. Now, what will end up happening is we are going to come through and we're going to cut this out right here, which will leave us with this portion right here and here, but we will also be coming through and cutting this portion off right about here, something like that. I think it's going to be about 22.5 degrees. We're going to cut that in. So let's go ahead and take this over to the saw now that we have our depth of where we want to cut and where we want to cut as well. Now you can make these cuts on a table saw, on your miter saw, however you want to do this. I'm going to go ahead and make this cut and make a few inside cuts and then go ahead and break these out and then clean up this entire bottom either with that saw or with a chisel. So let's go ahead and get to it. Okay, everybody, right here, you're going to see me. I'm going to adjust my depth stop on my saw so that it cuts up everything except for an inch on that backside that I want to keep for the spine. I'm also going to go ahead and put a sacrificial board on the back so that we can go ahead and cut with a full piece all the way across the back, so we make sure that the piece is fully supported all the way across, going all the way to the back of that. That spacer also allows me to be able to make my cuts and make sure it goes all the way across that back side as well. So I'm going to use the saw to come through and clean most of that up without having to go through with the chisel. I'll just use the saw and run it back and forth to clean up those edges real nice. From there, what you're going to want to do is change it to 22.5 degrees And make sure that you actually make this cut on the right side, because I am going to go ahead and make a partial cut right here and then realize that I'm about to cut into the wrong spot. So I stop, look, say a few words here, think to myself, and then readjust and make the actual correct cut on the correct side that I'm supposed to actually make that cut on. And that's supposed to be right here so that you can slide that watch onto there. If you cut it the other way, it's not going to work too well. So make sure that your cut orientation is correct, and you'll be able to see that here in a minute when we get over to the workbench. And right here, I'm also having a dirt moment. I cannot figure out for the life of me why I can't get my saw to cut through all the way, until I realize, oh, my depth stop is not changed back to be able to cut all the way through. So I do readjust that, and thank goodness I figured out how to cut through the rest of my piece here. Now, throughout this build, you'll see I actually use a longer piece of a 4x4, and that's mainly to make sure that my hand stays far enough away from the blade. Do what's comfortable for you, but a good rule of thumb is to keep your fingers about 6 inches away from the blade. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this. I'm going to clamp that piece down to the saw, and I'm going to go ahead and make my final cut. And that is going to be the 7 inches from the very top on my marking right there. And I'm going to go ahead and make my final cut right here. And that will be the last cut that I actually have to make on the saw, and that will complete this part right here. All right, so as Jasco Goods would normally like to say, I had myself a derp moment, and I cut into this piece of wood right here when the angle should have been on this side. I was about to cut it here. Thank goodness I stopped myself, so I can go ahead and show you guys the rest of this build. I will probably go ahead and come through, throw this on my table saw. It takes a lot to get my table saw back in the work right now because my shop's torn apart. So I'll probably go ahead and just shave this off a little bit, clean that up to get rid of that, or maybe I'll throw a design on the back to try to hide that. I don't want to throw this away, but thank goodness I stopped it before I messed up the entire project. I had to start back over again. So I am going to go ahead and sand this down, round these corners off. This one, I went ahead and routed all of these edges. It fractured this wood, but I think this is fir where this is pine. So I think the fir wood actually gets damaged a little bit more while you're going through the whole process. So I'm going to set that aside, and all I'm going to do is round off the edges slightly with the sandpaper and clean everything up, and then I'm going to show you the next part of this process. All right, so the next part of that process is I'm going to go ahead and come through and do a rough sanding on it. Nothing to be exact, but I am going to go ahead and deburr all of those sides. And then you have to remember, this is going to be for a smartwatch. So all of these top angles right here were, and we have to run a channel cable as well. You want these to be rounded off the best that you possibly can get them. Now, before I did use a router, but with this, I went ahead and just used 60 grit sanding paper and rounded those edges really nice, and it worked pretty good. Now I come through and I punch the center of that where I wanted my watch, and I also come through with a Forstner bit that's going to match the size of the charger for the smartwatch. I know not everybody out there has a drill press, so that's why I went ahead and did this by hand, and that's what we do here. We just go ahead and set it on its side and go by hand. Now, after I get where the actual charging base sits, I'm going to mark out a couple of lines, and that is going to be where the charging cable actually gets run. Now, there's going to be a few different ways that you can do this, but I am going to choose to use my engraving tool from Bauer. It works really good. It's lasted a long time for me, but you can use a Dremel, or if you want to use your router, however you want to do this, all you're going to do is make a straight line down, and when you get to the bottom, just make that go ahead and curve out the back, and that's where your cable is actually going to get run. So it doesn't have to be exact, it doesn't have to be perfect, because you're going to end up hot gluing it or using super glue to actually attach that on the inside of the channel. Now, after you get all of that done, you're going to want to come back through and sand it down one last time and do a nice little fit to make sure everything works and everything fits really nicely. All right, so there you have it. You can stain these, put a personalization add on to it. Like this has an actual charger for a phone and the smartwatch charger. So not only can you charge your smartwatch, but you can also go ahead and add a phone docking station as well. Go ahead and add them both on there, add on to it, do what you'd like with it. But I think it's a really nice project, really great project. Go ahead and throw a nice stain on here. I could see these easily for $35, $40, just like this. If you want to add the chargers to it, obviously upcharge from there. And then if you do it out of hardwood, probably from there, go up from that. And if you guys like this project, I plan on showing a bunch of these over the next coming weeks, because craft fair is going on and I have a big craft fair coming up in the next month or two. So I will be knocking out a bunch of projects, stuff like this. I will be batching out a bunch, and when I do the project for the first time, I will go ahead and show you the type of stuff that I will be taking to the craft fair. So this will be one of them, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks a lot, guys.